going to be crazy, but we're here live on the Sportscast, August 11th, 2020. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on all our channels, Periscope, iTunes. But if you're in iTunes, like some people listen to, like Justin Riley, go in and give us a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And of course, visit us on the sportscast.net. You'll see all the links there, all the latest and greatest, and cancellation of leagues. Who would have thought that some conferences will be canceled in college football? But this episode is brought to you by Insta Bible app. You can download the Insta Bible app via the App Store. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 have canceled the college football season for them this season and potentially postponed for the spring. What's up with the SEC? Will they do their thing? Stand their ground? Anyways, joining us all the way from Central Mississippi, Justin Riley. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Exciting day, but not the way that we really anticipated it to be.
You know, it's funny. It all started this past weekend when the Big Ten was saying no pads for practice. That was a big red flag. Even our contributor, Tyler Turner, said it's going to be canceled. What are your thoughts about the Big Ten canceling? They announced it today. This afternoon, Pac-12 followed because they're waiting for one conference to cancel, so they can too. They won't be like the lone birds. What were your first thoughts when Big Ten canceled a big player of the Power Five and college football?
To be honest with you, like you and I discussed before, my first question is why? What happened, or what was so detrimental that all of a sudden caused them to stop all operations? I just didn't get it. I had a feeling the Pac-12 was going to make this decision, but honestly, they were waiting on someone else to make the decision first because they didn't want to be, I guess, the lone conference who made that decision. But you kind of had to feel, based on the way things were trending out west, it was going to happen. The Big Ten, you still had a little bit of faith that they were going to stick around. Boom, completely changed today.
Something that definitely we'll be looking at closely. Here's what the commissioner of the Big Ten said today. His name is Kevin Warren. He said he spoke to the Big Ten Network, of all people, of all networks. One of the things we promised ourselves was this going to be fluid, day-to-day situation, and will be on a perpetual state of observing and gathering information. The overarching reason and the overarching issue we had to always keep at the top of our mind was the health, safety, and wellness of our student athletes was at the top of my list. Cases are spiking. The mortality deaths, not only in our country, but our states where our schools are located. All the decisions we make during the tenure here in the Big Ten will always put our student athletes in the center. We believe collectively there's too much uncertainty at this point in time to encourage our athletes to participate in fall sports. These are not professionals. These are amateurs and should participate in a healthy and safe manner. What are your thoughts about what Mr. Warren said today?
Well, I understand everything he's saying. I get where he's coming from. My first question is, why weren't the players allowed to have any say-so in what they chose to do and what they wanted to do? Seems like their voice was just obsolete. They were just bypassed, and they weren't really given the opportunity to just truly stage what they wanted. So,
but keep in mind that most of the college football players are not in a union. There's no union when it comes to college football sports.
No, none of that, but everybody was collectively coming together. As college athletes were kind of uniting in one unofficial front, saying, we understand the risk, we know what's going on, but we still want to play. Give us this chance. Let our voice be heard.
Something to definitely look at. The Pac-12 followed through afterwards, Justin. Of course, they've been kind of tilting towards that these past couple of weeks. Were you surprised that the Pac-12 announced it?
Not at all, just because the way things have been going on out there. And I think just there was so much controversy with this players union or whatever you want to call it, making their demands, wanting to be paid, wanting all these different things to be given to them. I just think there was just so much controversy, and there were hot spots all over the West. So you just kind of had a feeling that there really was no stability in a season.
Something to definitely look at. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. But there's one thing I need to do because I need to pause this stream and then do it again because I had to reset my Periscope. So let's get this going. Might have to restart the cast, but it's okay. I'll do this again. And we're live again. We had to do a quick interruption of the podcast. So Justin, what does this bring for the SEC? Of course, SEC is the biggest, in my opinion, and I guess like the Sportscast opinion, is the biggest conference in college football. Like the most talent, like the most in depth. Do you think the SEC will stick around and play a full season, maybe with the ACC and other conferences without the Big Ten and Pac-12? Can you foresee that?
I do foresee it. I think that Greg Sankey and the rest of the governing bodies of the
Who's
SEC.
Greg Sankey?
Greg Sankey is the commissioner of the SEC. He has been very vocal these past several weeks and just kind of keeping everyone in the loop. And out of any conference out there, the SEC has been the strongest and the most believable when it comes to having a college football season. It looks like that he's very comfortable. I mean, I could be wrong behind the scenes, but right now it looks like he's very comfortable with all the protocol that are in place and all the doctors, medical staff, what have you, of every team. He's allowing them to make the calls. He's putting the faith in the universities, and it looks like he's not basing any of his decisions off of emotion or panic. Everything is well thought out.
What do you say emotion and panic? Why do you say that?
Well, because right now, majority of this society, including the college sports world, are basing a lot of their decisions off of emotion.
You mean
and
specifically
fear.
Big Ten and Pac-12?
Well, the Pac-12 definitely. Big Ten looks like it, but and this was just out of the blue. You really didn't get that feel initially, but now all of a sudden it's a different story. But I think a lot of people are making their decisions based off what is trending or what is popular, rather than just kind of calming down and just really evaluating, and also trusting the university officials, which include the strength and conditioning staff, health staff, so on and so forth, to do what's necessary to keep these players safe.
This is what Greg Sankey today said about probably about an hour ago. He says, I look forward to learning more about the factors that led the Big Ten and Pac-12 leadership to take these actions today. I remain comfortable, keyword comfortable, with a thorough and deliberate approach that the SEC and our four team members are taking to support a healthy environment for our student athletes. We will continue to further refine our policies and protocols for a safe return to sports as we monitor developments around COVID-19 in a continued effort to support, educate, and care for our student athletes every day. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. Big Ten, we're planning to start at the end of August. The SEC and the ACC, we're planning to start on September 26th. How urgent SEC has to make that decision? They got about 2 months, about a month and a half, Justin. Do you think they have some cushion to decide if they'll keep going or they'll postpone it?
I think they have enough time to make an educated decision. But to be honest with you, do we really want to wait and it be canceled, or would we rather have the Band-Aid ripped off right now instead of being kept in limbo? But these players,
how much time will you
give
Greg Sankey?
Well, give him till the 26th, but
of August or September.
Yeah, I say give him till the end of this month, and that way he can make an educated decision based on that point before these teams really come together and they're really practicing. I mean, not that they're not right now, but
they are. Michigan's practicing still, by the way.
well, the grind will really get more intense, come September, because they're going to start preparing for game one. So, yeah, something needs to be in place fairly soon. These coaches need to know what's going on.
He says he remains comfortable with the decision he's made to keep the season going. This is what the statement from the ACC says. From the ACC in general, no commissioner said, like, the ACC will continue to make decisions based on medical advice, inclusive of our medical advisory group, local and state health officials. State health guidelines, and do so in a way that appropriately coincides with our university's academics missions. The safety of our students, I hear that word safety, staff, and overall campus communities will always be our top priority. It's a legal thing to say. And we are pleased with the protocols being administered on our 15 campuses. That's one more. No, that's the same. We will continue to follow our process that has been in place for months and has served us well. We understand the need to stay flexible and be prepared to adjust as medical information and the landscapes evolves. They start the same day as SEC, Justin. And also keep in mind the Big 12 is still around. Can you see those three conferences going at it alone?
Yeah, I can see it happening. Why not?
Or do you see one of them dropping out? Which one of the three will drop out first?
It'd be a coin toss between the ACC and Big 12. I think the SEC will be the absolute last to make this decision, because I feel like they're the most confident in what they're doing right now. I think everyone else is just kind of looking over their shoulder to see what Big Brother is doing right now.
And the big question is, college playoffs football committee, do you think they'll say, hey guys, you guys could play, but there's no national championship? Can you see that possible scenario?
It's a very realistic scenario, because if the Big Ten and the Pac-12 indeed cancel all or postpone to the spring, you can't have a legitimate crowning of a national champion if all teams aren't able to possibly compete against each other in a playoff structure. So
why don't you think like the spring football season can work?
Well, for one, it's going to overlap the NBA, college baseball, college softball,
March Madness.
Also March Madness. You also got to look at the NFL Combine, the Pro Days, the NFL Draft. It just causes quite a cluster, and it leaves you asking too many questions. About how each of them is going to be played out. How should they be played out? Leaves a lot of players in limbo too. And if you're going to postpone the NFL draft to say July, does it really give coaches and GMs and scouts the ability to truly evaluate players, especially these late round to undrafted free agent guys, by the start of the next season, which wouldn't be more than probably, a month and a half, 2 months?
Which players are affected by the Big Ten? Justin Fields is one of them.
Yeah, Justin Fields is a huge factor right now, and he's asking what's going to happen with him.
He can't transfer right now, right?
Well, that's another question. Is the NCAA and their prospective universities going to allow these players, if they should choose, to transfer out with the seasons being canceled? That's another question we got to ask. And also, too, are players going to want to try to explore that route?
Something to definitely look at. We got to see a list of players that are in the Big Ten, also in the Pac-12, that be affected for their NFL draft value. Now, there's one player that could skip a whole season, is Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't really have to play this season. He's pretty much a top pick no matter what. Yeah,
he's one of those guys that, without a shadow of a doubt, what his future is going to be. And yeah, if he chooses not to, it's not going to affect him at all as far as his draft stock goes. I think he pretty much has already built his resume up to the point of perfection. But I think that does not matter to him. He wants to compete. He wants to play.
Which he has said this morning, or actually throughout this week, that he wants to play It's good for the fans and everything else. So we'll see what happens. What do you think Nick Saban is thinking right now? Do you think he wants an answer from Greg Sankey this week? Hey, man, we got to know because I don't want to waste my players, training for nothing.
I think Coach Saban just wants to know what in the world he's getting into. What does he prepare for? What's this going to look like? I don't think that he's really concerned about championships and all that. I just think he's a guy who has to have structure. He has to have everything laid out, clear, concise, and he needs it now. I think that's the main thing that's really on his mind besides the health and safety of his players.
What's that one team you were hearing this morning that they want to drop out and they're from the SEC?
I'd heard rumor that Georgia was possibly considering, but to be honest with you, I haven't seen any kind of news populating from major media sources. So that's pretty much it. But I think the SEC as a whole, which several of the athletes have made it clear they want to play.
Something to definitely look at. There has been questions about can teams join conferences, and I can tell you right now that that Nebraska and Penn State they were thinking about leaving, or there were rumors. According to 247 Sports, several coaches have come out publicly as mouthpieces for players, urging their league to take more time before making a decision on playing this fall. Nebraska's Scott Frost and Penn State's James Franklin this week have both expressed interest in pursuing other options if their conference decides to cancel the season. It is prosperous notion that either of those two teams can join another conference on a whim for several reasons. College Game Day host Reese Davis said Tuesday on Get Up. First, it's not feasible from a scheduling standpoint. Greg Sankey has been the wisest of the leaders, trying to extend the runway of concern about players and wanting to protect the season and advocate for them. I think what Scott Frost and James Franklin and others are trying to do is put a little heat on the presidents to give this a little bit more time and to influence what is said in those meeting rooms without deciding at this point in the calendar year to drop the season. Justin, can you see a scenario where other teams from other conferences join the SEC, ACC, or the Big 12?
I think it is an option worth considering given the state of things right now. I think if a team legitimately wants to play and they feel safe in doing so, given the circumstances, I think they should be allowed to explore other options. Maybe their prospective conference kind of lend them to, say, the SEC or Big 12 or ACC for this season, but give stipulations and perhaps maybe a rental fee, I guess. Why not? Why not? Why not explore that option? If coaches and staff and players are ready to do it, I say let them compete. Let them do what they came there to do.
Desmond Howard, you probably heard of him. He's the guy in the Heisman Trophy. Desmond Howard called Frost's comments offensive and said there's no way Nebraska or Penn State would leave the Big Ten to play this season. He said, when I first heard it, I thought it was absurd. If I'm Kevin Warren, I'm getting on this phone to talk to the president of Nebraska and tell him we can't have your coach using this roguish type language. Nebraska is getting $40 to $50 million a year, no matter what their record is. I don't think Nebraska is ready to cut that check just to go play 10 or 12 football games this season. Nebraska and Penn State, two big schools. They've been making some noise. I think Iowa was the other team that voted against canceling the season. But if you had to take a guess, which conference would Nebraska go, and which conference would Penn State go?
Based on geography, I say Nebraska would either go back to their founding conference, the Big 12, if the Big 12 does decide to stay open. Penn State, the more logical choice would be the ACC.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, geography does matter a whole lot. Many of you guys are asking, how did this all started? It all started with the with the Mountain West Conference being canceled, also the Mid-Atlantic Conference being canceled, and it started to have a domino effect. A lot of these conferences were starting at the end of August, and for some reason they decided to cancel. But we'll definitely get more information about that throughout the days and see how it's going. If you had to pick another conference to join the Power Five, Justin, who would it be?
The American. I think that they are pretty close to a Power Five conference already. They have some very, very good teams, high quality teams. We had game day going to a couple of those matchups this past year. Seeing teams like Memphis and SMU and UCF. So they're pretty close. To be in a Power Five conference, they've got the talent there. So why not give them a boost?
Can you see like UCF, taking advantage over this whole situation? Maybe make it into, I guess, a playoffs if they have it.
Well, why not? They get what they've been asking for the past several seasons, but claim that they have been denied. So this is the time, if any, to pursue that route.
It's interesting, like talking about cancellation and playing during a pandemic. I was telling everyone before that in Europe, everything is doing fine. They're playing with no fans. Every player gets tested. I think 98, 99% of the time they're negative. Justin, what do you think? Colleges could do the same. Get tested every week. Have the players live in pods. Do you think college football has the resources to get this season going?
Man, they're $1 million industry, or maybe even more than $1 million industry. They have the funds, they have the resources to do all this, and it feels like everybody's saying, "Well, we can play all these other sports, but if you play football, that automatically equates to these players getting COVID." That don't make sense to me at all. So why all of a sudden has this unfair stigma being placed on football? If it seems to me like if they're in a more controlled environment and a protected environment, like their college campuses, their athletic facilities, it seems like they're better off doing that as opposed to going back to their homes, going back to wherever, and they're more susceptible to the coronavirus doing that than they would, I'd say, being at campus. Man, they're more susceptible at going to a Walmart or a Publix than they are on that football field where the environment is controlled.
If one person gets coronavirus, how deep is a typical college football team's, bench is?
Well, you look at teams like the SEC and you look at teams like the Big Ten. I mean, the Power Five conferences are Power Five because they have the best talent in college football, meaning they are going to be deep. The SEC would probably be the deepest because they have the most 4 and 5 stars out there. So the talent level is there. The cupboard is not bare if one person is out of the rotation or 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, heck, Alabama had 9 players out there this past season missing, but they still fielded a team and still were competitive in the college football playoff race until the last game.
I think it's going to be an interesting, moment these next couple of weeks. All eyes are on the SEC now. If the SEC drops out first, Justin, ACC is like, crap, we got to go. We'll be just like the Pac-12. We'll follow you guys through. I mean, can that really happen? Like SEC could be like what breaks the camel's back if they cancel?
Yeah, I mean they are the great impenetrable fortress right now. If the people outside of that fortress, that kingdom, see the king, deciding to dip out, they're going to lose faith and say we're out too. But as long as the SEC remains firm and strong, I think some of these other conferences will feel much better about the decision to play.
One league that has not canceled is the NFL. They're slated to start early September. Justin, do you see a chance they could cancel last minute? Because this whole coronavirus is like the weather. You just don't know till the day comes.
It's unpredictable. You really don't know. I think that on a professional level that there's greater protocol in place. Well, I wouldn't say there's greater protocol in place. I still feel like they have resources at their disposal to protect players, coaches, staff, what have you. And if they follow the same pattern, like you mentioned a few moments ago, the soccer teams and baseball and whatnot are following.
NBA bubble.
NBA bubble, exactly. NBA. You hadn't heard anything negative about the NBA, have you? No, everything is fine.
Yeah, I totally agree, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, sports is on limbo, but we need sports to keep our sanity. Anyways, Justin Riley, can you do the honors?
Oh man, that's what I'm here for. Yo, it's Tuesday, and what does Tuesday mean, guys? That means we are spending time with an Alabama legend. No different tonight, but before that, gotta give a little shout out to Rama Jammas. The college football season may be in doubt, but game day is still going on at Rama Jammas. Their starting lineup are taking the field daily to help you with your championship-size hunger. Stop by today and order from their legendary menu, Rama Jammas, where the season never ends. All right, I've been ready for this for a long time. I know everybody else has. Our guest is a two-time BCS national champion, two-time SEC champion, 2010 SEC Special Teams Player of the Week versus Ole Miss, 2011 SEC Player of the Week versus Arkansas, member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a member of the Arizona Rattlers, more importantly, a member of wide receiver U, Marquis Maze.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the Sportcast, Marquis. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing fine. And you?
Good, man. What were your first thoughts about the Big Ten canceling their fall sports?
It's kind of hard. Just trying to see what the future holds for guys that was on the bubble of either leaving or coming back to school. What's next for them, for those guys?
Yeah, we were talking about Justin Fields. I think he's the main player that which he plays for Ohio State. He's in that transition mode as well.
Right. It's some stuff we never, seen before. So,
Marquis, tell us what have you been up to these past couple months during the pandemic?
Really just be at home. Nothing much really to do.
Yeah, I want to bring up something you just talked about. You got the players, like you said, who are on the borderline, like some of these guys that are kind of questionable about whether draft stock may land, and they really need this extra season to really solidify where they're going to be. Mm-hmm. Where does this put them as far as trying to make it to the NFL?
I'm really not sure. That's a question I really couldn't answer because I don't know. It never happened. Like I said, we never experienced nothing like this before. I thought for sure that football season would play on, but I guess it's more serious than I thought,
It's a pandemic that only happens once every 100 years, they say, or the last one was 100 years. Marquis, tell us, how did you first got into football?
I really don't know. I was my grandma tell me a story. She say that when I was a kid, if I was crying or something in the baby bed or something, that my attention, they tried to cut on cartoons, music, all type of stuff, and it never caught my attention. But one day, I guess it was a football game on, and it caught my attention. And she said, ever since then, she just knew that out. And then from there, I just always had a football or some type of ball in my hand. And I started playing football at the age of 4. And from there, it was always in me.
And I'm very familiar with the area that you grew up. Of course, all that you just said transitioned well when you were playing high school football. You know, you played pretty much every position there was on the field and excelled at all of them. Can you kind of go through with us what your high school experience was like before the offers started rolling in?
Uh, it was pretty. It was. I was all. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I was always a different breed of football player because at my school it was no freshman that had ever started at Tarrant. When I was there, no freshman had ever started as a freshman, and I came in and broke the mold, and it was such a rarity that people didn't, people just was coming, like old alumni was just coming just to see if I was, good as advertised.
Right.
And I had a pretty decent. I mean, I think I led the state in interceptions as a freshman. I didn't play offense at all as a freshman. Up until the playoffs, and I don't know. I kind of from that year, then the next year I was I was at the top of my game as a sophomore. I only played one game. Then my junior year, that was my coming out year. Really, my 10th grade year was my coming out year because the first game we played like the number number 3 or 2 team in 5A, and we were a 4A team, and we played the number one, two. They was the top 3 team in 5A, and I think I had like 300 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns.
Which positions that you played in high school?
I played defensive back. I played all over the secondary on defense. I played running back, receiver, and quarterback, punt return, and kick return.
You're the whole team.
No, I wouldn't say I was the whole team, but I was a big part of it.
So tell us a little bit about your recruiting experience. I heard initially you were going to go to Michigan. What was the story behind that, and what flipped your decision?
The story behind the Michigan thing is I could tell people now, but I
exclusive.
It was too cold, right?
No. The only reason I committed because I was playing flag football that summer. I was playing flag football that summer, and I ended up breaking my foot playing flag football, and so I just committed because I thought maybe if I got hurt playing flag, nobody else would want me. So I just committed to Michigan that day. They didn't even know my foot was broke, and they was actually the first big school offer that I had. So I just was.
How many other teams were interested in you in the recruiting process?
It was a lot. I can't. Almost every SEC school. I think out west was USC and Oregon. USC, Oregon, Colorado, Utah.
And
Up north, Ohio State.
Oh wow.
Michigan State. Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa, and you had like Clemson and every school in Florida. And,
which of the schools were really
a contender?
Yeah, like which one was like really aggressive with you to join their school?
Miami, Tennessee, of course, Alabama and Auburn, and Michigan, Ohio State.
Tennessee again, Justin. Rings up.
Yes. it seems to be the theme of every former Alabama player we've had on here. The Volunteers have played a major role in the recruiting of each athlete.
They're
It's
on the
amazing.
ground in Alabama, at least.
No, they definitely are. Well,
especially because Jeremy Pruitt from Alabama. So
yeah,
absolutely. I remember when he played, and then when he became a coach, I was ecstatic when he got there. But yeah,
which I think Jolston said the same thing, that Pruitt was why Tennessee was showing interest.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was saying that. How
Nah,
about Georgia Tech?
Pruitt was at Alabama with
yeah.
when Johnson.
Oh, okay. Got the timelines wrong.
Yeah.
How about Georgia Tech? Were they also interested?
Who?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that was another school, but that I really didn't want to. It would.
Good.
Well, they didn't really pass the ball very much during that time. So.
But see, it would have worked for me because I came out, and most people, I really wasn't a receiver, but most people had me down as a running back.
Really?
Or either a defensive back, yeah, because that's what I mostly played in high school, more running back.
Like, what was your style for running back? Like, who did you portray a lot? Emmitt Smith or the Bus? Like, what? Like, what was your style?
My guy was Reggie Bush. He was the best college player I had ever seen.
Yeah.
It was Reggie Bush all day. But I had different ones. So at receiver, it was more like Peter Ward, and I also like Ward Dunn too. That was another one of my favorites at running back.
They're killers.
Yeah. So it was, and DB was always Deion Sanders,
which he left the NFL Network today.
Right.
So
no one's better.
He might be coaching, right, Justin?
Yeah, I think he coached.
I've heard rumors. Yeah, he's coaching his son's team.
But he might pursue something a little bit higher. I don't know.
We'll see.
I knew they threw his name in the hat for that Florida State job.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Looked like a possibility, too. Would have been exciting to see that.
Yeah.
But you ultimately chose Alabama. You were part of Saban's first recruiting class. What really, I guess, turned the tide, so to speak, and made you choose Alabama?
Actually, it was just the conversations between me and Kevin Steele, and Coach Steele, and Coach Saban. They just was telling me what was real. Everybody else was telling me, "Oh, I'm gonna come in, be a freshman All-American, and I'm gonna do this, and then you're gonna go to the NFL." Coach Saban and Coach Steele told me, if you're good enough to play, and that you would play. They never promised me all this hoorah stuff, and I just wanted somebody that was gonna be real with me.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing, and most importantly, Coach Saban always had that persona that I liked as a coach.
How was Nick Saban back then? Was he like someone that you thought, wow, this guy's the real deal? Like, what was the vibe you got from him and when you joined his team?
I mean, I studied him. Like, I really – I was very much a student of the game, so I never really just did stuff just because it looked good or people said certain things. I actually studied, and I actually studied him. So when they told me he made a player at the Miami Dolphins cry, I was like, God, this is my guy.
I like that. I like that, man. That's real.
Yeah.
Was Dabo there already? No, right? Dabo.
No, he was at Clemson.
Dabo, he was at Clemson, but he was an assistant.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I've mentioned to say we're the reason why he got that job. That 2008 game, but I'm jumping ahead. Of course, the Saban era was beginning in Alabama, and the landscape was about to change greatly. What was the atmosphere like during those early days, and was everyone buying in?
I would say the first year in 2007, no, everybody didn't buy in, and you could tell by the play on the field, by the loss, the things that took place in 2007, you could tell. But that next year, you could tell that everybody really started buying in. Then the next year, which the year we won the championship, it was everybody had bought in. Everybody everybody on the team bought into everything Coach Saban was preaching or coaching or teaching, and that's why you're seeing the results the way, going undefeated and winning the national championship.
Which player that you really warmed up to, that first season? Which player actually impressed you that first season when you got there?
DJ Hall, Javier. Then in my class, it was like Kareem Jackson because he came in early. I think he had came in like January, so he did spring with him. And Terry Grant. It was a lot of guys, man. I was just Matt Cadell. Yeah. What's his name? Man, I can't think his name.
Justin might knows. He knows the whole recruiting class.
Nah, it wasn't in the it wasn't in the recruiting class. He was already there. He was a linebacker from California.
Justin will know.
Prince Hall.
Prince Hall.
Wow.
Yeah, Prince Hall, man. Yeah. I hate everything that happened for him, but he was real good.
How was that recruiting class? Was it like top notch? A lot of 4 or 5 stars? Like, how was it?
Nah, we didn't have a class like we had a class like it was. I think at our class, Rolando might have been the highest rated, and I want to say he was a 4-star.
Wow.
But it was, but I really hate they get these kids stars because it really it screw a lot of those kids up because some kids come in and can block out that they're a 5-star. Some kids can't. Some kids come in and be thinking, oh, I'm a 5-star, I'm this and them that because they were told that in recruiting, and they get there and don't pan out to be as good. And I think it'd be a killer. It kills them morally. I hate that they do the 5-star stuff, and because
you think that a lot of players were underrated sometimes.
Do you think about it? Mark Ingram was a 2-star.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
no question. I agree. I agree with that completely.
So it's Heisman. The first ever Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama was a 2-star. Considered, Josh Jacobs, another one.
Yeah.
It's just all about opportunity and being put in the right places to do the right thing. Everybody at that level have talent, or I don't think they would be there. But it's all about opportunities and putting in position to be successful.
We won't talk about the players that were overrated.
I really wouldn't want to do that because I don't like calling people out.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I do agree with you. I think that they're giving these kids, and I say kids, this NFL mindset right out the gate, and they become Instagram and Twitter superstars before they even play a snap of college football and really proven themselves. And they don't go in with a humble attitude and with being able to be coachable to become what they think they already are. I just think that society is giving them the wrong mindset. See,
and I'm gonna tell you another thing. Like the players are a lot softer now because I know when guys came in our locker room like that, they really changed their mindset when they came in that locker room because nobody could save them in the locker room.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right.
That's 10. That's good. That was
not lying.
Do you think like this whole COVID thing is actually affecting some players for their offseason? How much would that be a factor for them coming into their first season?
It's still football, but like I say, nobody's right now. They should be in camp in like full pads, but they only in helmets and doing 7-on-7. It's going to affect a lot of guys. But some guys it might not. It just depends on the actual kid, I think.
Right.
The Cowboys are doing a virtual camp, by the way, guys, this week. Anyways, go ahead, Justin.
Well, I was just going to say, going back to that 2008 season that we mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
not many were expecting much out of Alabama that year. As the first game against Clemson drew near, no one gave us much of a chance. Of course, we shocked the world and we demolished the Tigers 34-10. And that post game, Kirk Herbstreit was at a loss for words. Can you guide us through what happened during that offseason that led to that big victory?
It just was guys who bought in. The guys that Coach Saban guys was really in positions to make plays. So most of all the guys that played on the field in '08 were Coach Saban, basically Coach Saban recruits. Um, so it was guys that bought into what Coach Saban was preaching, and then it was rough. We had a tough camp too because that first camp was really really tough. But that next year in '08, we had a really tough camp, and we felt that we were good enough to beat some of those teams. And Clemson that year had a very talented team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which game was the most memorable game that first season that you played?
Probably the first season that we played. Probably the Iron Bowl that year. Because I think we almost lost. Yeah. I say the Iron Bowl.
Where was that played at? In Auburn or in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah. It was played in Auburn. No, it was played in
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa. It was played in
No,
Tuscaloosa.
Tough
Because
to win.
'07 was played in '07 was played in Auburn, and we actually lost that game.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we had several big games in 2008 where we shocked the world. It seems like every time the media called you guys out for prove it games, y'all showed up. This was no different. In Baton Rouge that season, we run a thriller in overtime, 27-21, to capture the
Mm-hmm.
SEC West title. Usually, a team that hasn't been used to that type of success folds under pressure. What was different about y'all?
Like I said, I think guys knew that how good we could possibly be. Uh, I think that, like you say, you mentioned the LSU game. I think like Rashad Johnson had 3 interceptions, I want to say, and he
Yeah.
made a big play at the end of the game with the interception in the back of the end zone. So it was. I mean, you had guys that was hungry for wins. Alabama hadn't been winning, so and then you got guys that was coming in that was used to winning, like me, myself, Kareem, Josh Chapman, Darius Hanks. Um, who else you had on that team? Julio,
Mike
um,
McCoy.
Mike McCoy. But he was a part of that other class. He was a part of. I was just trying to think of the guys that was used to winning, but those guys
Right.
before us, I don't really know because they was at Alabama and they didn't win often. So
What role did Nick Saban told you? Like, what did he want you to do in the field? What role did he really prompt you to do?
um, he just really wanted me to. I don't know. At first, when I first got there, he didn't know because he said I went to every room possible. Running back room. I went to the DB room. I went to. The only position I didn't go to was quarterback. Every other skill position I went to.
Why not quarterback?
It's too short. I knew I wasn't gonna ever play quarterback.
Hey, but you got a chance to toss the rock a couple of times, man, and
Yeah,
you look like you could step back there pretty often, man, because you were on point with your throws.
yeah. I played a few snaps in high school, but mostly I really was just a running back for real. But I threw a few touchdowns in high school.
How far can you throw a ball?
Uh, I think I could throw about 75, 80 yards.
Yeah. Of course, 2009, Julio Jones was getting a lot of attention, but you emerged as the game changer, showing up in big games, in key moments. What led you to become such a big part of that offense in year 2 of your college career?
I would say, man, I was just hungry. I got tired of people saying, I Coach Saban always tell us not to listen to the media and this and that, but I did anyway because I'm a sports guy. So, and it just made me. It really was fuel to my fire every time I hear, Alabama only has one receiver, and if they take him away, then. So it was just fuel, and I knew I could play. My teammates knew I could play. So, I mean, when the moment came, I just stepped up and took the opportunities to make plays.
Tell us.
Go,
Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to stick with the 2009 season. Going into that season, what was the atmosphere like, and when did y'all know that this team was going to win it all?
We knew it in camp. We knew. Actually, we knew it. We knew. Actually, we knew after the loss to Utah.
Wow.
Yeah, I promise. That's no lie. We after the loss to Utah, we was in the locker room and we talked about next year what we were gonna do, what we were gonna accomplish as a team, and it worked out.
Worked out. The motivation was there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we were really motivated. People really don't believe me when I say this just because we lost, but I don't think we were really motivated. And then some certain things took place. Andre Smith ended up not
Yeah.
being able to play, and stuff like that hurt. Especially at left tackle. And not only that, then we wouldn't. Coach Saban didn't prepare for because Utah never showed that they did no huddle. He never. We
Oh,
didn't.
wow.
Yeah. So they came out with something different, and that was the shocker.
Utah of all teams. Tell us about that 2009 team. How was the talent?
Very talented, very talented. You got guys still in the NFL off that team, so it was, and guys that still should be in the NFL off that team, but certain circumstances happen. So, it's a business, and that was a very talented team.
You're part of something very special, that we had not seen since 1992, a national championship. What did it mean to you personally, and what was your mindset going into that game against Texas?
Just to win. That was my mindset. Do whatever we got to do to win. Um, they had a very talented team and defense too. It was shocking that I watched the game about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, they started naming players off their defense, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I see why we really didn't do much offensively, but they had a pretty decent team, man. I think we just had a better team.
Which games do you still watch?
I
Like
really
that,
don't.
like the old days.
I really don't. If it come on TV, I might glance at it because I hate watching stuff that I already know is gonna happen. So I just don't watch it at all. But I really don't watch football at all now anyway. I can't remember the last time I watched a full Alabama game.
Hey, did you have something against Arkansas? Because it seems like every time we played them, you went out there and made them look foolish. What was up with that? It seemed
No,
like you had some.
the only team I had something against was LSU. That was the
Oh,
only,
yeah.
yeah. And it really wouldn't that I had anything against them. To me, I had one of the worst games of my life against them in '08. So I just, from that day, I told myself I would never play like that again.
And of course, you became virtually unstoppable no matter when you were on the field. You reminded Alabama fans of two other legends, David Palmer and Freddie Millens.
Yeah.
What really led to your rise in 2010 and 2011?
I would just say more opportunities. Just more opportunities. More trust from I think more trust from a quarterback and more trust from my coaches. Because really nothing really changed about my play. It just was, like I say, opportunities and more trust.
And speaking of LSU, I got to ask about this because I enjoyed watching it. One of the most exciting matchups of 2011 was not only both contests of Alabama versus LSU, but it was you versus Tyrann Mathieu. You didn't give in to all the hype. Can you tell us about that matchup and what it was like between the both of y'all?
Another great player. It just was competitive. I actually liked his style of play. Like if I played defense, I probably would have played defense in that manner. But I like competition. I don't like guys to shy away, and he didn't. And that was like a big thing for me.
Yeah, y'all really fueled each other. It seemed like every play, man. That was just so exciting to watch. I felt like I was watching more of you guys than I was watching everything else, man. It was just amazing.
Yeah, it was like I like games like that. Even when we played him a few years back, and Patrick Peterson, he was another guy that was, he didn't shy away from, some guys, if they feel like you got a little bit more talent or they feel like you good, they shy away or they kind of tuck their tail, but those guys didn't, and that's what made those challenges and those games fun.
Let's turn the curve a little bit, Justin. Let's go to 2010. Tell us about that season.
Most talented team Alabama ever had. That's the most talented team Alabama ever had. And I think, like Coach Saban said, we just got complacent. We had guys that was worrying about the next level. Guys that didn't play through, like, I wouldn't say injuries, but wouldn't play through being hurt. So it was, and it was business decisions for them too. So I get it, but we just got complacent as a team. Should have actually been the first team to win back-to-back championships,
which is tough to do in college.
Really could have been a three-peat if you look at it.
Yeah, because it would have been 2011 the next year. So, yeah.
But you think like the Cam Newton factor, came to play?
Nope.
Nope, not at all.
Because we had them beat 24-3.
Yeah, at halftime.
Like I said, it just came down to complacency. We went in the locker room, everybody was excited. Coach Saban wasn't, but it turned out.
That's something that we hear Coach Saban preach over and over again, and I don't think people really take it seriously. How much of a killer can complacency be to a team?
Very. It could be very much a cooler because you at a certain point when you was winning games, and I think we won the first 5 games that year, I guess you think teams just you're gonna show up and play a couple plays and they're gonna lay down. But some teams that was fuel for them. Oh, we playing the number 1 team, let's knock them off. And we come out there lackadaisical, going through the motions, and get beat by teams we should have never lost to South Carolina.
Amen, especially that quarterback.
But we should have never lost to LSU, and we definitely should have never lost to Auburn that year.
Tell me what it was like when Julio left and it really became your wide receiver squad and the offensive focus shifted to you. What was that like when you finally got to become the guy?
Man, I didn't feel any kind of way because I always told people it wasn't just because it was another reporter that year asked me a feeling of how was I gonna feel the void for Julio. And I just told him, like, I'm not going to feel the void. We got 8, 9 other guys in the receiver room that's gonna all fill the void. We all work together. So, guys like Darius Hanks, Brandon Gibson, Noah Wood, Kenny Bell, DeAndrew White, Christian Jones when he got in. Those guys was players too, and I never wanted to disrespect my teammates like saying I was the number one guy because we all were number one guys in my eyes.
Tell us about your both matchup, like the 2 games against LSU, the one that you lost, and then the one that you won.
The one that we lost, we shouldn't have lost. They called the pass. I threw to Mike Williams an interception when it should have been a completion on our end. We should have had the ball at about the 1.5, 2 yard line. So that was a bad call. The referee came in the locker room and told us he made a bad call.
Wow. He said that?
Yeah. So we knew we could beat him. You can go back and I had an interview that night after the game, and I told him that we would see him again the same night. I said we would see him again, and the outcome gonna be different.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah, I knew we was going back because I was just watching football that year, and LSU and Alabama. That's what made it the game of the century because we had everybody by a landslide. It was Alabama and LSU, Alabama and LSU up here. Everybody else was about, everybody else was pretty much mediocre.
Yeah, you're right.
And I knew we were going to get back in.
For the second time in your career, you were playing for a national championship. Not only that, but it was that rematch against LSU. What was your mindset going into this game, and where does it rank in the 2 championship games you played in?
Good question.
It ranked number 2.
Wow.
I would say ranked number 2 because I didn't get to finish.
Right.
But that's the only I would say is ranked number 2 because I didn't get to finish the game. And but like I say, that was something that nobody had ever seen in the BCS era with 2 SEC teams in the championship game. So it was cool to see that too.
Do you think that was Nick Saban's finest years? Those early years?
Yeah, I think because we set the foundation. So now it's like, just look at how the fans don't even show. The fans don't show up as often like they did when we coming up. And it's like now they just so used to winning, and it's like complacency, really. And I think that's where a lot of those losses come from. I mean, not last year. They was pretty down. They was banged up last year on the defensive side of the ball, but I think complacency. And then Tua got hurt last year, so it was kind of. But the thing about that, I think if Greg would have got hurt, we would have still had people like AJ and stuff that would have been ready. Everybody back then was ready for their opportunity. I don't know if everybody, because I haven't been to a practice. I haven't seen each kid. I know what they say in recruiting, but I don't buy that because this is a different level than high school. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Justin, one more before we head into the NFL.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of wrap up that 2011 season. A lot of people say that actually was the best team ever in Alabama history. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I'd say 09.
Interesting.
Why do you say that?
09 was just different, man. Hey, we ain't lose.
I believe you, man. You were in both squads.
I think a lot of people just made that decision based on how incredible that defense was in 11. But the defense in 09 was great too. And then offensively,
the defense in 09 was number 1 in every defensive category though. And I get that the 2011 defense they would have been, but that Georgia Southern game messed them up.
Oh God, I'll try to forget that one.
Yeah, we gave
Jennifer,
up what
Go ahead.
almost close to 400 yards rushing.
Yeah, it was.
You remember
I
that, don't
just,
you?
Yeah.
man, I was saying things that Christians shouldn't say.
Justin was not a Christian back then, by the way.
Do
Yeah,
Um,
what?
it's fine.
No, I
so
was saved back then.
Marquis, tell us after that season, tell us the process to the NFL draft. How was the process? What were scouts telling you?
Um, really, they was telling me. Well, I got one feedback that I was supposed to go in the second round. Uh, but they was just trying to see how I would do, being that I had a serious injury.
How bad was that injury?
It was pretty bad. I had to have surgery on it. I had surgery 2 weeks, no, 3 weeks before the combine, and I still end up going to the which I hurt myself by going to the combine and participating. But I'm a tough guy. I always wanted to be the tough guy, because everybody say he's small and in stature and stuff like that. So I always wanted to be tough and show guys that no matter what, because I played through major injuries at Alabama, but I should have never participated in the combine because I ended up re-injuring it at the combine running the 40. And nobody knows, but I re-injured it and teams kind of, my agent just told me it was a bad idea. And, it's a part of life though, so you can't dwell on it.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, you're a competitor, I mean, you're not going to shy away from any opportunity, and you didn't know what was going to happen then. Of course,
Yeah.
being your toughness and being a competitor is, one of your greatest strengths, I think, going into that draft. What do you feel like were some other advantages that you had over players at your position in that draft?
That I was a better punt returner than everybody in that class. Uh, if I was healthy, I probably would have ran the fastest 40 in that fastest 40 at the combine period. I mean, with 3 weeks out of surgery, I still ran a 4.41, and I
you were
really could
fast.
open up. So I just feel like I didn't do myself no justice.
Right.
So NFL draft happens. Tell us, were you drafted or did you get signed as a free agent? Tell us about that story.
Didn't get drafted. So I was sitting in. Well, I didn't watch the draft anyway. I was just sitting at home anyway. Didn't get drafted. Uh, got a call from my agent that said Pittsburgh wanted to sign you as an undrafted free agent. So, well, it was actually I filled in like 10 calls from 10 different teams, and I ain't do no homework. I just really actually went with the team that gave me the most money, and I should have just went to the team that had the least amount of guys at my position, and that they was comfortable with. But I think I ended up. Hello.
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay. Okay.
We got you.
We still see
ended
you.
up ended up really making the team, but I just my injuries wouldn't allow me to be myself, so I gave a position to another guy that needed it because um his niece was going through a rare had a rare cancer, and he needed the money, to try to save her life. She ended up passing. Nobody ever. I don't really like talking about it because I don't want to put other people business in the world, but I ended up making the team and I just left because of that reason.
Wow. That definitely answered one of my questions.
Exclusive.
I mean, that's just an incredible ministry as well. I mean, just pure selflessness, man. I admire you for that, brother. That's an amazing story. Definitely a reason to leave something at the NFL at that point. But how would you compare, I guess, Mike Tomlin and Nick Saban from the experience you had with Mike Tomlin?
Great question.
Not comparable.
Why?
Different attitudes.
You want
Yeah,
you want to
different
go into
attitude.
it?
Mike Tomlin. No, Mike Tomlin was a good coach, but Coach Saban more of aggressive and more.
Championship
Yeah,
minded.
it's more
Yeah.
like I'm gonna fuss at you until you get it. Mike Tomlin is like a guy like, okay, I'm gonna say it once and I might say it twice
I mean,
and then all right, man, so it's just a different mindset, but both great coaches.
so tell us. We know that you had a short NFL career. Tell us, what happened towards the end and why did you leave it?
Well, I ended up fielding more calls from other teams. I just, like I say, man, my leg was never right. My leg was never right after that LSU game. I knew it. Tried to fight through it, during camp. Well, I actually did fight through it, but I had to do so much treatment after, and I just didn't want my body to be broke down like that, man. And I was 20, 23 years old and felt 40, 45, 50. So
Wow.
I was, yeah, I just didn't want to
Was
do
there
my
a whole
body.
lot of players entering the draft also having a whole lot of injuries like that?
Not that I know of. I mean, Dante had a ACL, but he had that in '08. Where the
Yeah.
2009, he got that the camp of 2009 season. So it was. I don't think. I don't think nobody else was actually hurt like me. I mean, I had, like I said, I had 3 weeks. I had surgery 3 weeks before the NFL combine. Tried to do the Senior Bowl, but I couldn't run. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, like the past interviews that Justin and I were interviewing that, probably 60% of them, Justin, were kind of injured, like entering like the NFL draft, right?
right.
Yeah, and of course, an injury can set you so far back, when it comes to the draft and preparation and just trying to get back on track and getting your mind back to 100%, not just your body. What's harder, getting back physically or getting your mind back 100%?
I would say getting back physically because my mind was always there, but like your body gonna tell your mind like, nah, man, you can't do it. So it's you know your body is probably the hardest.
So tell us, what did you do after you left the NFL?
I just went home and actually started coaching football, little league football, because my son started playing and just was coaching, and then got a call from Arizona and went up there for a week or two and tried it again, thinking that maybe since I had sat down for a year or two, and the same thing occurred, hamstring, the same when I had surgery again. Then I had to go rehab surgery again. From there I said, man, football over with for me.
Was there any interest from the CFL?
Yeah, I actually went to Montreal too. Yep, I went to the Montreal Alouettes, but same thing, man. Injury, hamstring, really much you can do. But
What was
the doctors had told me that it was pretty much over before I even went to the combine. I just tried to fight through it,
Wow.
you know, because it was my goal, it was my dream, and a lot of guys want to do it for like the money. I just love. At that point, then I just love football. It was nothing else in the world I wanted to do but football.
How much
And it was
time were you with the Arena Football League?
uh a week or two before it popped again.
That's it.
Yeah,
Wow. How was the level? I mean, when you were there for a short time, was the level of play pretty good? Was it high or was it two
Low,
steps back?
low, low. It just was learning the field so small. It was just learning that part of it. But no, talent level and everything else was like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's something that we hear a lot with them and CFL and even NFL Europe. It's just not there,
Yeah.
But do you think like there should be, like a second division league, like the XFL or the Alliance for players to have a second chance?
Yeah, that's a good thing, I think. Or they should have like the NBA have a G League. They should
I
have a
agree.
LG League or an NFL league. Well, guys that's there but not developed all the way should go and play.
And there you have it. Like these interviews are very, very interesting because we find out some more information we never knew about when we were young. Hey, why this happens and this happens, and if the AFL ever reached out or like NFL Europe. But it's quite interesting how things happen. Like there's opportunities, but if there was that second division league, like the XFL, which is coming, owned by The Rock, it should be in good hands. I think there'd be a whole lot of interest that be some watch and also some good ratings for it, and also good opportunity for players to get into the NFL again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's head into rapid fire, Marquis, where we ask questions and short questions, short answers. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Who was the greatest player you played? I mean, like which player was like the greatest you played? Like he was your opponent. Who was the greatest?
Patrick Peterson.
All right. Who was a tougher coach, Nick Saban or Mike Tomlin?
Nick Saban.
What was the most memorable game in college football from all the 4 years?
Winning the national championship in 2009.
All right. Who has the best barbecue spot in Tuscaloosa?
Moe's, maybe.
Moe's Barbecue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who was your favorite player from last season's Alabama's team?
Man. Tua and Henry Ruggs.
Which leads me to my next question. At your healthiest, who wins in a foot race, you or Henry Ruggs?
Me.
That's what's up. I believe that too, because I've seen you at your best. I believe that.
Would you rather coach or recruit?
Coach.
What does Marquis Maze look like in Steve Sarkisian's offense with Tua at quarterback?
2,000-yard receiver, 15 touchdown.
You're not lying.
Even what was the last guy? What was the last offensive coordinator? Duval?
Lane Kiffin?
No, Duval and Lane.
Oh,
Kiffin.
yeah.
Both
Yeah.
offense was all three of those offenses were similar.
And then Loxley as well, yeah.
Yeah, Loxley.
Do you see one of your kids maybe playing college football and potentially pro?
Yes.
Who wins head-to-head in a battle between A.J. McCarron and Tua Tagovailoa?
Tua.
And finally, what would you tell Tua Tagovailoa in his first season in the NFL?
Just go play football. You know the game. The level don't change really.
Really?
It's the same guy. Nah, it's just the same guys you always played against.
True.
And
I told Justin that all the time.
Yeah, it really don't change. It's just guys from you might have a guy that have a little notoriety, more notoriety than another guy, but they played against you. Like just say for instance, Tyrann Mathieu is a top-notch safety in NFL.
Yeah,
you're right on that.
How much can you bench?
The other day I got about 315.
That's what's up. Good job, man. I got one last question.
Go for it.
Yeah, on your Twitter account, it says legends never die, mainly because of the legacy you leave behind. What is your legacy?
I think that's for the people to know, to answer. I think that's really for like the people that know when they mention my name. That's for them to answer.
Marquis Maze,
Yeah.
Alabama legend. The poll question, I didn't have one this morning, but we'll use the one yesterday. What's like the best part of s'mores? The chocolate, the marshmallow, or the graham cracker?
What's the hold on now?
Like the best part of the s'mores.
Okay.
The
Probably
chocolate, marshmallow, or the graham cracker?
probably graham cracker.
Justin Riley?
I think the graham cracker, because it's what holds it all together.
Graham cracker is last place at 16%.
Oh,
First chocolate, then marshmallow.
Yeah. Who like marshmallows? I mean, well, I don't eat chocolate, so it don't matter to me.
what? No
No,
chocolate?
never, no chocolate.
Is it just a health thing, or you just don't
I
care for the
I
taste?
never ate chocolate. Never.
That's good though. That's good because chocolate, people could get carried away with it.
Yeah.
Marquise, so tell us what have you been up to lately, and what are your plans for the future?
Lately I've been in the real estate, buying and flipping houses. Um, and that's what the future holds. And then hopefully, um, one day my kids be watching my kids playing. Uh, hello, you got me?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
you
got
still
you.
there, man?
Justin
And
came
watching
back.
and watching my kids. Somebody called me. I'm sorry. And watching my kids play football in college or in that NFL.
You think you want to get back into coaching soon, or you're kind of done with that?
I don't want to do nothing with football. I just want
And who you currently speak to from your old team in Alabama?
to Kareem Jackson, Josh Chapman, Alfred McCullough, Rolando McClain, Justin Woodall.
That's a good bunch.
Yeah, I just talked to Marcel a couple days ago. Marcel Darius.
How's he doing?
He doing good. I seen him. I seen him out eating, and we talked.
He's eating too much.
Nah, he wasn't eating too much.
Were y'all
Justin, one
pretty
last
close?
one.
Well, I was gonna say, were you and Marcel pretty close since y'all kind of grew up in the same area before you got to Alabama, or did y'all really start forming a bond at Alabama?
We formed a bond at Alabama. I didn't know. I didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know him. He actually played at a little league. He played it across town, like the same neighborhood rivalry team that I played at East Lake, and he played at Wyoming. But he was younger than me, so he played up under me. It
Okay,
go
I
by
got you.
age. It go by age, stuff like that.
Well, there you have it. Marquis Maze. Always a pleasure. Marquise, what is the best way for people to reach you to find out more about you? And what's your
I don't
Twitter?
really know how you gonna find more about me unless I do interviews like this, because I don't do so. I mean, I'm on social media, but I don't talk about nothing at all.
You're one of
Most
the few interviews that we talked
Neither
to.
does anybody else.
Yeah. You're one of the interviews that's actually on Wikipedia. You're one of the few. So
Yeah.
very important.
So I just like I say, I'm usually probably mostly on Twitter. That's probably the most you can catch me. I really don't do too much social media.
And what is your handle for Twitter?
My handle for Twitter and Instagram is Maze Boy 4, and on Facebook it's Marquis Maze Tillman.
Justin Riley, what's the best way to reach you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. at Justin Riley 7 on Twitter, at Justin Riley _7 on Instagram. I also will contribute to the Sportscast at the Sportscast 1. That's the same on both Twitter and Instagram. Also, I contribute to the site regularly with articles at thesportscast.net.
And tell us where we would be expecting your next article be about.
I think we got a great story here, so I might have to, if Marquis is okay with it, put pen to paper and write something.
That's fine. I'm cool with it.
Cool.
Marquis Maze, a legend, Alabama legend, definitely memorable. One of the first classes in the Nick Saban era, revived Alabama era. Perhaps Nick Saban might surpass Bear Bryant as one of the greatest coaches of all time. We'll probably see a statue soon. Justin's hoping.
There already is a statue. Yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, Santiago needs to head down to campus.
Yes, hopefully. Well, this year will be kind of hard, but you'll never know. Maybe the SEC will be back into action alone.
No, we're going to be down there. We're all going to hang out at Rama Jammas before the game and head over to the stadium. So
have some breakfast. Anyways, any closing words from Justin and Marquis?
Yeah. First of all,
go ahead.
Oh, my bad.
Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, okay. First of all, before I give my closing words, I want to remind everybody, tune in next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central. Marquis's teammate, Mike McCoy, will be on. So going to be a good interview. And he actually played at my old high school too. So pretty excited about having him. Closing words, man, brother, I thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing just to follow your journey and just to see what you've done as a player, not just on the field and the stats, but your hard work, how competitive you are, and just the positive message you put out there. And it's amazing to see the love of the game still exists, in players' hearts. It's not just about the money. And that sends a great message to these kids coming up, and they really need to listen to that. It was amazing hearing about why you left the Steelers, man. That really got me. And God definitely used that to bless so many people. And I thank you for taking the time to speak to guys like us, man. And we really appreciate you taking the time out with us.
All right, thanks for having me. I just appreciate you guys for even wanting to talk to me, because not many people really want to talk about.
Marcus, we love you.
I love you guys too, and I just want to tell the rest of the fans, roll tide.
Roll tide, man.
Roll
Justin,
tide.
Roll tide. Thank you, guys. We'll end it right there. Next Tuesday, tomorrow, we got Tyler Turner talking about the Big Ten canceling. He's upset about it. Marquis is not too upset about it, but we'll definitely be talking about it, and we'll be fleshing out college football because things are still in limbo, but I love it. That makes news exciting. Anyways, guys, good night and roll tide.
Roll tide.